I am not having it. No hijabs, no burqas, or whatever these Muslim women are wrapping themselves up in these days. Not here, not on my property. Because that was the whole point of getting rural acreage in the first place. Now I'm going to tell you why hijab is completely unnecessary out here. But before I do, a little background. I have 4 daughters. And if they choose to live as Muslims, and they decide they want to adopt veiling in some form or fashion, I see it as my responsibility to remove any friction from their religious practice. Now, the first one was born over 20 years ago. And from that moment, her mother and I set an intention to raise them outside, away from the city, in and among all the wild and beautiful things. Now, that was a long time ago. I'm no longer married to their mother, and they live on the other side of the country. But my intention never wavered. I remarried, and at the first opportunity, my wife helped me to realize that lifelong dream of living out in the country. Now, what does any of this have to do with the hijab? Okay, we've said this before, but it can't be overstated. Our contemporary understanding of Islam is tragically urbanized. And that's because the history of Islamic education has been localized to the big cities. Way back in the day, during the time of the caliphates, you're talking about Baghdad and Cairo and Bukhara and Timbuktu. These were all huge metropolises, and they became the places that people converged to learn about their faith. The urbanization of Islam goes hand in hand with the establishment of an Islamic academia. And in these big cities with bustling marketplaces and communal wells and town squares, men and women were crowded together, forcing encounters, some of which were welcome, some of which not so much. And within this crush of human intercourse, believing men were admonished to lower their gaze, and believing women were advised to draw their cloaks about themselves. And there's lots of interpretations about what that all means, but this isn't the place, and I'm not the person to get that sorted. But what you and I both know is that Muslim women, the world over, are recognizable by some kind of a head covering or an overcoat or even a face veil. And Muslims have been hashing out the various facets of Islamic decorum between men and women in public spaces. What are the limits of interaction? What can we look at? What can be displayed? What does it all mean? And academic Islam has been at this for centuries. But what if there is an off-ramp? What if there's a way to liberate men and women from these loaded conversations about gender interactions altogether? But hold on. There are people watching this video who are not Muslim, and for them, the off-ramp is really easy. Just stop being Muslim. Really? Do the questions about how to behave with members of the opposite sex stop there? Because it seems to me that questions about consent, what is or is not appropriate interaction, hashtag me too, hashtag not all men, incel culture, plummeting birth rates, really creative ideas about the nature of sexuality, gender identity. These are all active, ongoing conversations. Islam is my chosen framework, so we're going to stick with that. Now, we have about 6 acres here in the foothills of the Western Sierra. Encountering anybody out here is highly unlikely. I don't have to worry about what I'm looking at. I don't have to lower my gaze. I can look around and take in all of this incredible grandeur and majesty. And there is no expectation here that my wife should cover up. In the city, she chooses to wear the hijab, but out here, she lets the sun kiss her skin and the wind blow through her hair. And that is what I wanted for my daughters so many years ago, for this to be their default experience. And it still can be, as is true for anyone who chooses to get outside. You don't need to own land. America is such a beautiful place with public wilds accessible to all, where you can spend days, weeks, or even months without seeing a single soul. And in those places, away from everyone, we are liberated from any consideration of how we might otherwise moderate our behavior or our appearance. It's just you and God and all of His magnificent non-human creation. Academic Islam continues to frame our experience through a primarily urbanized lens, but it is our contention that Islam is most thoroughly actualized in a rural setting. We are the wilder folk. We are the outlanders. We are the travelers from the hinterlands passing through. We are the farmers, the herders, the ecological warriors fighting to save the planet because we've chosen her company over the society of men and women. Now, most of us aren't ready to abandon the comforts of city life, and that's fine. But in the meantime, check out our website, dustintribe.com. Go backpacking with us, and we'll get you into some places that just might change your minds.